cold and dark state. The essential pre-flight is done, with cockpit controls and switches set to the operator's manual conditions. Remember that you can pause the lesson at any time by pressing pause key on your keyboard. Options and brackets are keyboard keys or can be bound to your devices by pressing escape. First, observe the collective on your left side and ensure the throttle is in the closed position. Compare its position with the image on the left side of the screen. The throttle can be bound to an axis or a set of 3 options called throttle closed, throttle idle, and throttle full open. Become familiar with the throttle range of movement by practicing the following. Above, on the forward overhead console panels, set the ignition circuit breaker switch to the ignition position. The FADEC. After that, turn the ignition key lock clockwise. It's located Turn on the battery, which will provide electrical power during startup, by placing the battery 1 switch in the BAT 1 position with the RMB. Battery voltage should indicate more than 21 volts displayed on the multi-parameter display, otherwise abort the startup. After the battery is turned on, the audio system performs a built-in test. You will hear the low rotor audio warning about 15 seconds after turning on the battery. This can be silenced by pressing the recall acknowledge switch down with the left mouse button once. Press the spacebar to continue. Behind the pilot seat on the auxiliary circuit breaker panel, set the CMOS circuit breaker switch on the multi-parameter display, MPD. Hold the MPD test switch in the up position by clicking and holding the right mouse button on it. Check that all lights and segments on the instrument panel illuminate. Compare those with the image on the left, then release the switch. Gameplay note: all lights will illuminate normally. The KW is now ready for engine start. First, turn the throttle on the pilot's collective to the idle position. The throttle is in the engine idle detent when the red mark on the throttle twist grip is lined up with the middle of the engine idle release button. Then, hold the start switch located on the pilot's collective in the on position for at least 2 seconds. The start switch can be held with the left mouse button or by holding S on the keyboard. The engine is now starting. To silence any new audio warning tones, press the recall acknowledge switch with the left mouse button once. Wait for the engine to stabilize at idle between 63 to 65% NG. If NG is above 65%, check that the throttle is in the idle position. Just rotate it back until it's blocked by the idle release. Gameplay note: all startups will be within normal parameters, but you can check and monitor the following indications to ensure a normal start. Press the spacebar to continue. On the forward overhead console, set the DC gen switch to the DC gen position, the AC gen switch to the AC gen position, the essential bus switch to the run position, and on the center post circuit breaker panel, set the particle separator circuit breaker to the in position. On the multi-parameter display, press and release the bit switch to the down position with the left mouse button to clear the faults. The yellow blinking warning lamp above will extinguish. The aircraft should now be at idle, with switches properly configured for the run-up to 100% RPM. Press the spacebar to continue. Ensure the FADEC auto man switch on the instrument panel displays auto. Rotate the throttle smoothly and steadily to the full open position. Instructor note: if the FADEC button displays manual, do not advance the throttle prior to placing the FADEC switch back to auto. Because the FADEC manages the engine, there is no need to place the FADEC switch in manual unless there is an emergency. Press spacebar to continue. Cycle the MPD selector switch until the NR-NP position is displayed. Use the engine RPM trim switch on the pilot's collective to set the rotor speed to 100% NR. 3 momentary bumps of the trim switch should result in the NR set to 100%. Gameplay note: you can click the engine RPM trim switch on the pilot's collective with your mouse. Instructor note: for the purpose of setting and or adjusting the rotor speed or the power turbine speed, use the digital readout on the multi-parameter display. Readouts from the NR vertical scale and from the MPD backup display on the top of the MFD may indicate 1% higher than the actual NR. Press the spacebar to continue. On the Stability and Control Augmentation System, SCAS control panel, turn on the Check whether any caution or advisory messages are displayed on the MFD. At this point of the startup, only nav not align may be displayed, meaning that navigation is still aligning, which takes up to 4 minutes. Wait for it to finish and the message disappears. Then proceed to the next step. Instructor note: if you see C or A with a number next to them on the bottom of the MFD but no messages, press the Recall Acknowledge switch with the right mouse button, which will recall hidden messages. To hide or acknowledge messages, press Recall Act switch with the left mouse button. Press spacebar to continue. Next step is to set up the Common Missile Warning System, CMOS. Rotate the power switch located on the CMOS control indicator panel to the on position with the right mouse button. The system will run a built-in test, which takes 3 minutes. Press the Safe Arm switch on the CMOS control panel to the arm position with the right mouse button. Final steps will turn on the L2-MUM system and the MMS. Place the L2-MUM switch to the L2-MUM position. The switch is located on the center post circuit breaker panel behind the pilots. Rotate the MMS mode selector to the forward position with the right mouse button. You can press 2 on the keyboard to switch to the co-pilot seat. Press manual slave twice to command the MMS to slave to the forward mode prior to takeoff. Press spacebar to continue. Congratulations! The aircraft is now ready for basic flight. The steps you have completed are enough to get the aircraft into the air. However, there are many following steps to configure the mission systems to prepare the aircraft to communicate, navigate, and fight. We'll cover these steps in the following lessons. You can exit this lesson now by pressing Escape. To restart this lesson, press left shift plus R.